On the case, Bigfoot time can't replace. Truth is what we seek to find. Science leaves us no behind. Through the forest, deep and wide, cameras rolling side to side. Every clue, footprint, trace. Bigfoot's not a myth they chase. Sunday night or Friday too. Bigfoot's real, the truth in you. Science, sense, and grace combined. This is all it's time to shine. Mystery solved, it's time to shine. Squatch-D TV brings it live. Steve and Chris, they're gonna fly. No stone unturned, the facts alive. Bigfoot story now defined. Footsteps here and shadows there. In the woods they do prepare. Concepts for life away. Bigfoot secrets shown today. Sunday night of lights to shine. Sunday night of sunshine. Swan sees it's time to shine. Sunday night of lights to shine. Sunday night of lights to shine. It's always time to shine. Sponsor, it's always time to shine.
Welcome to Squatch-D TV, where the truth is first before all else. Join your hosts, veteran investigator, TV personality, and author Steve Kulls, and from the Kentucky Bigfoot Research Project and the Kentucky Fried Fixes channel, Chris Bennett. Sit back and prepare to take yourself on a journey with the longest-running Bigfoot podcast, Squatch-D TV. Here are your hosts, Steve and Chris.
And good evening, cyberspace. Welcome to Squatch-D TV for today's date, October 4th, 2024. I'm your host, your guide, the Squatch Detective Steve Kulls, along with, well, the one, the only co-host with the most, Mr. Chris Bennett. What's going on, Chris?
Steve, man, it's good to see you.
Yeah, long time no see. Feels like we just did this the day before yesterday.
Yeah. Oh, man. I needed your help today. We just had to mow the yard, which I got to mow for about half an hour before I quit. But finally got the yard mowed. Yeah, it dried up enough, and it was starting to get away from us. But we had a full week of rain last week because of all that hurricane stuff that blew in, and it's really been wet around here. But the last few days, it dried up.
Well, it's kind of funny that we had while you were having all that rain, I was having nice weather. And then it flip-flopped. You were having nice weather. I was having rain. Yeah. And I think today we had a nice day. And, we had a real nice day. I have no idea. I believe we're going to have rain tomorrow. But
with the break in the weather, I hope everybody in the South and the East is getting their electricity back on and getting dug out of all the trees and stuff.
And I hope everybody is safe, too.
Yeah, right.
Our prayers go out to those that lost homes and everything. What a mess. And hey, there's Sharon in the chat. She is at the airport on the way to Lisbon, Portugal.
Oh, Lisbon. Oh, okay. Yeah, cool.
Very nice.
Wow. World traveler.
Good for you.
I think it's a big deal to go to Bowling Green. That's like 35 miles away.
Yeah, I heard they had to close the zoo in your town because the chicken died.
Yes. So, it probably got 8 around here. How high chicken is.
So it's been It's been a very interesting week.
Mm.
Yeah, I went to the doctor because my hand was hurting. I was like, I think I might be having arthritis.
Oh yeah.
And the doctor looked at my hand. He says, "Oh, you haven't got arthritis." I go, "No, what do I have?" He goes, "You have early onset of rigor mortis." So anyway, I'm fine. Just a joke I throw out there. But no.
Oh yeah, that rainy weather, man, it brings out your misfit youth.
Get off the lawn. Anyway. But yeah, I was just letting everybody. Oh, the Beatron walked in. I actually met the Beatron at the Whitehall Sasquatch Calling Festival last week too. So it's good to see him. And
yeah, that was like a Squatch-D TV reunion there. Everybody's on.
It's like
needed more people to show up.
It was just so awesome. And I don't know what the official count to that was. I heard 8,000. But I have friends now telling me that it was even higher than that.
Wow.
So who knows? It's going to be.
Well, that's great. I'm glad to see the event is growing, and that's important. Right. And it's good for the community. It's good for everybody that's interested in Bigfoot, Sasquatch.
What a great little community. Whitehall has a very large Amish population as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that started about 10, 12 years ago. I started getting a lot of Amish coming in and whatnot. So anyway, let's do our roll call for the night and let's get into our conversation. And hey, first in tonight was Jen. Jen made it in first.
Hey, Jen.
Number one. Of course, we got Karen Fisher. We got Ristel. Ristel, what's going on? Tim, Mrs. Trackway, what's happening? Angel Nolan. Hello, Angel. Good to see you. Don Come Out Jr. is in the house. Sharon, of course, we talked about Sharon. Sharon, safe journeys. Have a great time.
Be careful.
Yeah. Who else we got? We said Don Gary Johnson Sr. Good to see you. David Parker. Hello, David. Good to see you, sir. David? Little Kilroy is keeping an eye on Chris.
Oh, dun, dun. Somebody needs to. Thank you. Good to see you, little Kilroy.
Nikki Sasquatch Secrets in the house as well.
Welcome.
Check out her podcast.
Yeah, good show. She does a good show.
Yep. The Beatron, of course, we said the Beatron earlier, but hello, Beatron. Jack Norton, how are you, sir? Good to see you again. Patty Lindsay, good to see you. Welcome back.
Glad to see you guys.
The Timberline Camp. Hello, good to see you checking in. Welcome.
Okay, now where's Grasshopper? Where's he at?
and Grasshopper, even though we don't see him,
we don't see
him out. That way he doesn't feel left out. There we go. Because I always seem to.
I think he mutes his comments or something, and then after we do the shout outs and stuff, the hellos, then he unmutes them, so they just magically appear because I don't see.
Is that what I look like? Those are my readers for.
Well,
because I'm at that age where sometimes I need readers. Not always, but sometimes.
We got Timberline Camp. We got Roy Longley.
Oh, Roy Longley popped in. Good to see Roy. Hello, Roy.
There's probably some more guys and gals come on in here shortly.
He's the lurk. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, we want to say hello to all our lurkers out there. Welcome. I'm glad to have you.
So, my week, as I was talking on Wednesday, how Wednesday morning, my computer took a dump and I managed to get a new one in and all up and running, or that was Tuesday morning, I should say. Spent most of the day Wednesday putting it back together. Spent a lot of, Wednesday, and I got up Thursday morning to find my Xbox account was hacked.
Wonderful.
And I had to cancel my debit card and order a new one. And there was a few charges on there that we reversed relatively quickly due to fraud. So it's been one beep of a week. That's all I got to say.
Oh, man.
But, I'm alive. I'm breathing. I got at least one of my
That's
four
right.
tasks. One of my 4 tasks that I wanted to get done this week done, and the rest I'll get done tomorrow and in the mail. So I'm not really
Every day you wake up, that's better than the one that you don't.
Amen. Amen.
I was going to do some tractor video today, but we had other irons in the fire we had to take care of. Maybe we'll get some tractor video done sometime this weekend.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
So anyway, couple of things going on this the last few days. First was not really worth a big mention, but TMZ picked up a Bigfoot picture photo, and it's very clearly that infamous costume we see all the time.
Oh yeah.
And they were running the story but to all of us that have seen that costume 10,000 times, we're like, yeah, that's bullshine.
Yeah, well, Halloween's coming up too, and there's going to be lots of gorilla costume.
A lot of pranks. Yeah. And, the internet went up like fire, but at least the internet this time around was responding with, a lot of the Facebook groups have been responding with, oh, yeah, look, TMZ's picking up this costume. Hello. This is what we've been saying for the last how many years?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Thank you, Patty.
Oh, golly.
Thank you so much.
Patty, you're so nice. We appreciate that.
Thank you. So, yeah. Now, I'm going to... thank you so much. That support helps us, especially with the increased cost of StreamYard, which is going to start this month. And it's the increased cost of the new computer. but I got to say, something really incredible happened a couple of days ago. And I'm not going to show the video, nor am I going to play the audio, because I have reached out to this person. Right. And I want to get them on the show. But I would love to talk about this person's sighting encounter. And he has a channel on YouTube, not a very large one. It's getting close to that monetization threshold. So I don't, but let me preempt this by saying I don't think this was any reason for him doing this. He starts off very emotionally, stating that he wanted to get away for the weekend, and so he hopped in his truck and went up to the mountains in Oregon. Right. And he found this spot, and he was out doing stuff with nature, and then he was going to sleep in his truck overnight. And he's got his truck set up where he could sleep in it, which a lot of people do. Oh my goodness! Now that Patty, you are fine.
Oh, yeah, that's wonderful. I mean, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and I am so sorry about your loss. I couldn't imagine what you're going through. And, I'm sure on behalf of me, Chris, and everybody that's in chat and out there listening, our prayers are with you for, strength. That's right. And so we're so sorry about that. Gosh. And, I'm glad, hopefully, Patty, we could bring some happiness or some entertainment into your life, because I see you in chat all the time, and we really appreciate you being here. And if we bring you some joy in these terrible times, then we're doing our job, and it's worth every second that we do this. And that's why we do this. Is we decided to do this a little more frequently than once a week, because people were showing up to our special shows, and we have people here that every time we do a show, they are there, and we appreciate that. We love that, and it keeps us going. So
what a great bunch of guys and gals.
Again, so sorry, Patty. You'll be in my prayers.
Hang in there, Patty.
So anyway, when it just goes to show that when we talk about, like, I'm sitting here complaining about a computer blowing up or a debit card being wiped out, but then you hear that story, and it just throws you right in the face how everything else is so insignificant.
Yeah.
That's right. It's
I try not to focus on my individual problems. You know, a good friend from Georgia, Todd, told me one time. He said, he said, you think you got problems, but everybody's got problems. He said, matter of fact, he said, if you could write your problems down on a piece of paper, fold it up and toss it in a hat and pass the hat around, and everybody could draw new problems. When you drew your new problem and you looked at it, you would probably think, my goodness, this person has problems, and you'd probably ask for yours back.
Yeah. Yeah, if you see that, Patty's husband had a sighting, and he was a federal police officer. So, well, we're glad, and like I said, we're so glad to bring you kind of truthful stuff. And we last couple of shows it's been a lot of negative stuff. So I'm glad to report tonight we have something very positive. And this guy's sighting was pretty incredible. The way he came off was so much more incredible. But let me digress and kind of paraphrase the sighting a little bit. So he was out there and he went to bed. And at some point he wakes up because he feels something, hit his truck. And he had his sunshade up in the window so he couldn't see out front what was going on. It sounded like it was the front of the truck. And he's trying to look, and he goes, I figured maybe it was an acorn or a pine cone or something in his truck. I don't know. Yeah. And then he felt his truck bump a little bit too. And he's like, nah, maybe I'm just dreaming it. And he goes back to sleep for a few minutes.
Right.
And then his truck shakes again. And he realizes that now it seems like it's shaking more side to side than it was front to back.
Yeah.
And now, mind you, when he's telling this story, he goes into a preamble before he starts to tell the story. How he's very reluctant, and he is showing all the body language. I mean, if anybody knows, I'm into body language and behavior and neurolinguistics and all that. He is showing all this body language and all this stuff that clearly shows he is stressed about talking about. He's very pensive about talking to him. And he goes into this story, and he starts to realize that he looks out his window and he sees this big, tall, hairy body and hand. He sees the hand.
Okay. Not a paw.
Not a paw. He sees a hand. He says it's about 3 times the size of his hand. And he says he's got very big hands.
Yeah.
And then he realized that it perhaps was looking in his sunroof, watching everything that was going on, because he had the sunroof with the flap pulled back. So if he woke up, he could look at the stars above.
Right. Yeah.
But he didn't look up.
Yeah.
He was too afraid to look up. And then eventually it quieted down, and that was the end of the experience. And he got out of there the next morning.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I might have put my head under the blanket, but I would have had to look up. I would have had to look up.
Oh, you was
had to. You never know. You never know what you're going to do unless you're there. Okay, unless it happens to you.
One of the things that he says, literally in his soliloquy, is that he saw it and he had a hard time registering what he was seeing.
Right.
And that's exactly what I've said in the book, my new book, is that you're going to have these moments where your brain, if it's not in your wheelhouse, your brain is going to have to spin and register it.
Try to identify what it is you're looking at, because what you're seeing is nothing you've seen before.
But it was so amazing watching the pensiveness of this, because before he breaks into this,
right,
he sits there and he like holds his head and rubs his head. His facial expressions, his body language, all perfectly in tune with the story he's telling.
Right.
And you can see, now people will make a lot of eyes going left or going right, but as he's telling the story, his eyes are going back and forth. Yeah. And that indicates he's trying to figure it out. He's sitting there going, what am I saying?
Well, I'm going to have to catch that because that sounds interesting and it sounds like a credible encounter.
I will send you the link.
Yeah.
I will send you the link. It was really amazing to watch.
Well, the story so far, it sounds believable.
Yep.
Totally believable. Somebody going, well, you call it car camping, but he might have been in a truck. Sleep in a vehicle. Okay, that's totally, especially if there's bears in the area. I had rather sleep in my vehicle,
Now we do have a question from Jack Norton. Says, do you guys think Sasquatch live across the Americas or just in? Well, there have been Bigfoot-like creatures seen in North America, South America, Europe, Asia, Australia, New Zealand, Alaska. The only place you do not necessarily see them is in volcanic islands, such as Hawaii or Samoa or Fiji, which are all islands that were created by volcanic activity. Where you see Bigfoot sightings is when the earth was all squished together in Pangea and it broke apart. That's where you start seeing, or hearing of stories of these creatures that look like a Bigfoot or described as a Bigfoot.
Right. Yeah, I think about every state has reported Bigfoot sightings. Except I don't think Hawaii does.
Hawaii. Well, supposedly they do, but it sounds kind of far-fetched. Because cows weren't even indigenous to Hawaii. Nothing was, people weren't even indigenous to Hawaii. They came from other islands.
Yeah, it's too far away. I mean, even if, we talked a little bit about do they swim or not, last show or the show before last, I can't remember.
I'm sure they don't swim. I'm sure they don't swim from like New Zealand to Hawaii or California to Hawaii.
I don't think. No. Even if they're strong swimmers, I don't think they could make it.
No. But yeah, this guy's sighting is incredible. So I did send him an email today, and I applauded his courage for coming forward saying that, because he says right in it that he feels like that in a lot of cases and he couldn't find the word. And then eventually when he was doing the production, he put in there, and the word I was trying to find was stigma. And he goes, people won't, necessarily believe it.
Yep. That's right. People will think whatever they want to think. And, you just gotta, at first, it bothered me at first. It bothered me. And then I decided, well, I can't help it that I've experienced something that they haven't.
Well, that's why usually when I talk to people, I do not come out with the excuse, well, the reason why I believe a Bigfoot exists is because I've seen them. Right. I don't start with that. Right. I talk about the evidence first and talk about the stuff I've debunked and the stuff that I can't explain, and about the scientific method and the processes and the investigative processes that I use. And then I say, oh, by the way, I have seen 2 of them. And their attitude changes a bit because now they realize that, well, this guy sounds like he's pretty grounded. And then all of a sudden he says, well, I've seen 2 of them.
Yeah.
What? Because now they've accepted me as being credible. And now this credible person is telling them, hey, guess what? I had a really good conversation. Very
Don
true.
Very good point.
Yep.
Don says, but everyone seems to know about the creatures one way or the other. Yes, even across cultures.
Yeah,
and that's a big deal. You have 2 different cultures that have no contact whatsoever, and each one of them has stories or legends about the hairy man.
Right.
It's interesting.
Yep. It's for not just in modern times.
Mm-hmm.
That's a mainstream media byline that the Bigfoot Mystery started in 1958 with Jerry Crew's Bigfoot cast. No, it was going on for hundreds of years before that.
Yeah.
They're in Native American lore. Samuel D. Champlain talks about them. Rogers Rangers talks about an encounter that sounds awfully a lot like them. There was the Bauman incident, which even if it was or was not true, it just shows that it's involved in the it's being talked about long before the 60 or 70 articles that I've dug up. Or read the historical Bigfoot by Chad Arment, who literally has hundreds of accounts from newspapers prior to 1900, talking about the wild man, the hairy man, the bear man, a baboon-like creature, all these types of things. Of course, baboons weren't even roaming. Like in Florida, they do have problems with monkeys being released by pet owners and stuff like that. So every once in a while, one springs up.
Well, and you got your Native American lore, and there used to be one guy on the skeptics forum. I think it was Kitakazi. He said that's just not true. That this has all been done lately. People say that the Native Americans, had experienced or encountered Bigfoot-like creatures, and he said that's not true. That's not true. Well, yeah. Henry May recently put up one of his videos. And it's got a picture from 1937. I think it's 1937. And it's a picture of the Native Americans in British Columbia. And they've got a costume of the Sasquatch. The Sasquatch was their word for Sasquatch.
And why in 1654 does Samuel D. Champlain talk about the Gogu or the hairy man beast?
Right.
That the Micmac Native Americans talked about,
right?
That are reside on the border of the French, on the border of Quebec, in the United States. Why did they talk about that? No, I'm sorry, but I've said this before. I'll say it again. There is confirmation bias on the side of the believers, and there's confirmation bias on the side of the critics. And those are your two extremes. And I am with neither one of those extremes. You should be down the middle.
I'm thinking there was a report of large footprints entered by the Lewis and Clark expedition, but I'm going to double check that because I'm working from memory here.
There is. Yes, there is. Yep.
So that's pretty interesting.
Yep. There was, now I think about it. I will have to pull that one out. But, and speaking of this, I had a really great conversation with a guy by the name of Ben today. So if you're out there listening, Ben, hello, good to see you. He's got but Ben is a skeptic.
Great.
And that's okay. We always said that. And he actually apologized to me in advance saying, well, I hope you're okay with this kind of me being a skeptic and no, I openly. And he brings up, what's that? Yeah,
apologizes in advance for being a skeptic. No, that's fine, man. I was a skeptic too, and I recommend everybody be skeptical right up until the moment you have an encounter yourself.
Right,
because the whole time when I was even finding tracks and stuff like that and footprints, and I was like, well, this could be somebody messing around. Okay, it could be faked. But when you're looking at old, big, and hairy, that's when you'll know. Oh yeah,
right.
Okay, they're out there.
Yeah,
they're out there.
But it's kind of funny because I asked him a lot, and he said, literally, what's your issue? He goes, well, witnesses, have proven to be unreliable, and I'm like, what? I go, that is a skeptic bias talking. Yeah. If witnesses are not reliable, then why do the court systems in the United States, the eyewitness is the most important piece of evidence you can have in a court of law. I saw that person do that. Right?
Yeah. But see, the problem with that train of thought, though, is the skeptic requires every witness ever to be wrong. We only require one to be right.
Correct. Yep.
Can you say with all certainty that every witness ever was wrong?
No. So I asked him a question. And I explained to him my background and what I've done and you know, everything. And I said, you know, let me ask you a question, because I have you know, mind you, I have interviewed over 2,000 witnesses, be it or criminals, you know, depending on, you know, which a witness. I go, why is their testimony unreliable? Well, they don't understand size, they don't understand weight, you know, sometimes they don't know the exact times or maybe even dates. And then I'm like, time out. So as a forensic interviewer, those are automatically things we naturally assume that could be inaccurate about an eyewitness's testimony, because perception is different amongst different people. Some people may say it's brown hair. Some people may say it's reddish brown hair. Some people may say it's red hair. The bottom line is it's still hair.
Yeah.
You know, what we look for is the story consistent. A, B, C, D, E. Always. That's what we're looking for. It doesn't make the testimony unreliable. You're talking about their perception of things. Now, if somebody says somebody is 6 foot tall running out of the store and they turn out to be 5'10",
Right.
we're going to hold that against them for 2 inches.
Yeah.
Or they may be 6'2". You know, we're assuming a person can have that, you know, have that perception and take that perception and put it into a math equation or a time equation or a weight equation.
Right.
We can't.
Right. I think maybe, you know, there is something to that. People may be mistaking the size because most of the creatures are very tall, and we're not used to seeing that in a two-legged individual. And so when you think about it, you know, you take an 8-foot 2x4 stud, you know, and you hold one of those up and you think, golly.
Danny Weeks makes a great point too. It's not required for the jurors to be at a murder scene while it's happening to make a judgment. Exactly. They're going to base that judgment on eyewitness testimony a lot of times.
And people are going to make mistakes, but it's going to be, you know, if it's a credible encounter, it's going to be an innocent mistake. Like, you know, well, what time did you witness the creature? Well, I mean, you know, they just saw Bigfoot. They're scared out of their wits. The first thing they're going to do is look down at their watch and see what time it is. No.
and why is it that we can say a person that has seen a Bigfoot,
right?
You know, the skeptics can say why, because he made a point, and I countered with that, is why is it, you know, we always say, well, I think they believe they've seen a Bigfoot. Well, how about a bear? How come no people are misidentifying bears? Like, oh, I just saw a bear. Well, that's really not a bear. We take them at their word for it, don't we?
Right.
Don't we?
Yeah.
We take them for their word about bears. We take them for the word about bobcats. Hell, we even take people's words about mountain lions when mountain lions are in areas they are not supposed to be at.
Right.
Yeah. But we have a problem with saying, oh, I've seen this.
Yeah.
You know, what is intrinsically wrong with that? It's confirmation bias. It's what happens is the way we are trained to comprehend things.
Yeah.
And
that's
maybe, you know, well, exactly too. And you need a point of reference sometimes. I don't. I knew, but that was because I wasn't in fear and it was at a distance. And that kind of helped me a bit. Sometimes when you're too close to one can look immensely large. Like that's why I think people think they're like 10 feet tall, because they're standing relatively close distance and you lose that perspective. Hence why our grandparents or our parents when we're little kids look so big.
Right. Like a 5-year-old looking up at his parents.
Oh, they're huge. You know, my dad must be 6.5 feet tall. And then you grow up and realize he's only 5'10".
But, you know, one of the things I would like to recommend, if you are lucky enough to have an encounter or unlucky.
Ah, yes, there we are. Danny Weekson with the platypus joke.
But if you are out in the woods and you do see one, try to look at the tree. If it's standing next to a tree, which, you know, if you're in the woods, there's going to be a tree around.
Well, first of all, first rule is try not to poop yourself.
Yeah, that's a good one. Tell your feet to stay planted, and then look at the tree next to it and try to envision a spot on that tree where the top of its head's at, and you can come back later when you feel safe and secure with fresh underwear. and measure up off the ground and see how tall it was.
Yeah. It is so important for like I said, that people come into these things with their own biases. Walter, thank you so much.
Walter Crop, thank you so much, Walter. You guys are too kind. Thank you so much.
And welcome, Walter. You snuck in that chat room, didn't you?
Yeah, he was lurking.
Hey, we got Troy in Tennessee in as well. Hello, Troy.
Hey, Troy. Walter, you're too kind, man. Thank you.
Too kind, brother. So we have this dichotomy of just trashing witness testimony when we shouldn't be, because what's the first thing they do at any trial? Call your first witness.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Oh, there's Steve. Curious Cryptid slipped in here.
Hello.
Good to see you, man. So found people are agitated, alarmed. They typically inflate the size of something that startles them by as much as 30%. I believe that. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely correct.
Because we're used to seeing people 5-6 feet tall. If you got somebody that's like,
if I see somebody 5 foot tall, they're pretty damn short.
But if you see somebody that's nearing 7 feet tall, you're just like, oh my God, they're giants. And so when you see something that's nearing 8 feet tall, your perception is just blown out of the water. Like, boom.
So I do have to tell you a funny story about I had a partner many years ago when I was working for the drugstore loss prevention.
Yeah.
And his name was Sam. And Sam was 6'8".
Yeah. He's a big old boy.
Yeah, he was too. He weighed about 300 pounds and he was skinny.
Yeah.
And this guy had came into the store quickly about the week before. And this is the days when they had CDs and DVDs in a rack.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he just grabbed an armful of CDs and DVDs, put them in his trench coat, and he bolted. So I get out there. He's gone. He's nowhere to be found.
Oh.
Right? Because I'm coming from the back of the store where I'm watching him.
Right.
So about a week later, I'm in the store with Sam working with him, and I see the guy walk in. I go, Sam, this guy's going to hit us. And I go, yep, he's eyeballing the stuff already. And Sam kind of gets on the floor real quick, and he watches the guy, going like this. And I'm on the radio. Yep, he's doing it. Okay.
Yeah.
So the guy runs out, and he tries to run on Sam. This guy takes about five strides,
right,
trying to run away.
Right.
Sam takes about 2.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then he just goes like this to the guy. And the guy's like into a car.
Oh.
We handcuff him, bring him back. Sam's like, got him like this. And the guy's like,
oh, yeah. Giant got me.
And then I came out with one of my funniest comments to this day. Because Sam brings him back, have a seat. I go, you got me. I knew who you were the minute you walked in because you got me last week. And he was like, and he goes, no, that wasn't me. I go, it was you. I'm looking right at you. He goes, oh, I have a twin brother. Oh, wow. Really? So I turn around, and where was the first thing out of my mouth? Sam nearly fell off his chair laughing. So I go, oh, is he a thief too? I just like that. I have a twin brother. Oh, is he a thief too?
Oh, man.
I just thought that was so friggin' funny that I just like, oh, is he a thief? Just
runs in the family.
I used to have that smart ass mouth at times where, I would just come out with these very quiet, like, oh, is he a thief too? And I remember we caught this one girl. I was working with another partner, and we caught this girl in the same jurisdiction twice within like a month. And I looked at her. I said, oh, you've been caught before, huh? I go, today's Tuesday. You're just in time at the local jail for cream of bologna soup.
Ugh.
Right? And my partner starts laughing, and the bad guy starts yelling at him. He's like, I didn't say it. He did.
Cream of bologna
I'm
soup.
just laughing. That's the problem. My smart mouth sometimes gets me in a little trouble with people. But that's just me. I'm just a humorous guy, I suppose. But let's getting back on topic.
Yeah.
If you stood next to Sam, you wouldn't know how tall he was. And when you stand out, then I can judge. Okay, he's about 6'8". And that's because of my background, constantly watching people, actually catching people, and then asking them their height, and I'm already judging it. I got to fine tune my height ability skills with a lot of things.
Yeah, but to see something that big, you're going to be frightened, and you're not going to be the best judge of size. So I would say it's probably acceptable and probably common for people to maybe, I don't want to say exaggerate, but I just think maybe their concept
misjudge.
Right. Misjudge. Concept of the size is off a little bit. Could be.
And I'll go to my very first night vision sighting where I saw something in my night vision. I originally said the reeds that I had seen this thing pop up and were 4 feet tall. They weren't. They were 6 feet tall because I walked up to them and they were over my head.
Right.
But looking from afar, they looked shorter than what they were. It wasn't until I walked up on them. Yeah. And to tell you the truth, I have with people, I have a very easy time determining their height. With structures, a little bit different. I'm just like everybody else. When it comes to people, I kind of can tell because I've seen people that are this height, this height, this height, this height, and this height. But structures like reeds and stuff like that, no, you have no idea what their height is until you go out and measure them.
Right.
Because you have no frame of reference. Right. Which is kind of that whole thinker thunker. Oh, the Ontario tree Bigfoot was 10 feet tall because these trees are an average of such and such. No, you cannot judge anything without you cannot judge something without reference.
Yep. Have to put a measuring tape on a tree.
And even in my evaluation, we took one known item and we basically put a sliding scale on that. Right. If this was a 36-inch stride, a 42-inch stride, or a 48-inch stride, boom, 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 boom. Measured out. Then it's either this, or that. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Oh, I can. Robert goes, I may believe in Bigfoot, but I don't know if I believe that Steve is a smart ass. Not always. No, not always. When I am amongst my peers, I can be very professional. I can be outrageous and rambunctious. But when I'm in a situation where things are under control and somebody says something smart, like, well, I got a twin brother, that is so outlandish and stupid that I'm apt to come back with a outlandish and smart ass remark back to it. That's just the nature of the beast. And hence many years ago, the person who called in and said that they have a UFO in their pants. And I said, I'm surprised you could see that without a microscope. And it just rolled right off my tongue like that.
Yeah.
That happens.
Blog talk radio days.
That happens. But getting back to all of the original discussion, I don't let Bigfoot believers get away with saying nonsense a lot of times. I won't let a skeptic get away with saying nonsense either anymore. Yeah. And when I say nonsense, I don't mean Ben was purposely speaking nonsense. It's the way they were trained. It was the way they, it's whatever video they watched or whatever videos they watched where the skeptics remember the old line, oh, there's not enough food in the forest to support a creature that large.
Right.
Until we pointed out to these experts and skeptics with PhDs behind their name that, a black bear needs 15,000 calories a friggin' day for 3 months before they hibernate. What do you mean there's not enough food? An 800-pound creature only needs about a third of that, if that.
Yeah, we had Native Americans for, thousands of years there. They eked out a pretty good living without going into a Wally World or a Kroger.
Right. So it's very important to keep people in check when it comes to saying outlandish things. And, maybe not, again, like if somebody is saying something on their profile that's outlandish. I don't argue with them on their profile. Why? You know, it's kind of like I run by a rule. This is, even though we have a membership and I allow members to say what the hell they want a lot of times, this is still my house. I got to keep it under control. And that's why I won't let somebody come in and make a trollish comment. That's why we kind of moderate a lot of our comments, because there are a lot of idiotic comments that come through. They'll say, "Oh, you're wrong about this. You don't know what the F you're talking about." They don't come in that often, but maybe a couple of months will come in. And that's why I'm not gonna sit there and argue with an idiot, nor am I gonna let them post or comment. If that's the way they feel, boom, they won't comment anymore.
Yeah, Lori got a good point. She said, "I'm seriously have always believed in these creatures. I get so much flack, even paranormal groups. It's crazy." And I agree. A lot of times, whatever.
On the other hand, now Lori, hello, Lori, welcome. It's a name we haven't seen too much. So welcome, Lori. First of all, welcome to the gaggle. Kick your feet up, make yourself at home, grab yourself a refreshing beverage and a snack, and have fun. And I will say, I have, and a lot of people know this in chat, some may not. But for a good amount of years, I ran my own paranormal group. I started doing paranormal investigations in 2010 and 2013, started my own group and ran it for about 6 years. And then we decided, we kind of let it slide and go by the wayside. But one of the reasons why I got out of the paranormal was, the SLS cameras. And those are the things where they use the Microsoft Connect device, which they use for like VR and stuff like that. And they'll look on the screen and they'll see little stick figures being made. And oh my God, look, it's outlining a stick figure because the IR scan is reading a stick figure there that we can't see.
Technology is something.
Right. And they would run around, and a lot of these paranormal shows run around and think that that's evidence. No, the old evidence, the EVPs and the stuff on camera, that's what's important, not this pseudoscience. So I'm going to use this to detect that. And there it is. So there's your evidence. And I've seen a lot of paranormal shows, and that's the only evidence they're showing, like it's something exciting. And it's not, it's contrived. It's so that to me is a little disingenuous. And when somebody in the paranormal says to me, "Well, I don't believe in Bigfoot," really? Bigfoot leaves prints. What evidence can you show me of a ghost? What physical evidence can you show me? No, that's electronic evidence. Show me something physical.
I like the paranormal stuff too. It's always interesting. Well, anything to do with mystery. I love all
exactly.
Mystery. But when you see stuff like a rocking chair moving on,
and my foray into the paranormal was not the same. I did not have the same objectives and goals that I have in this mystery.
Yeah,
this mystery is about the truth and about the paranormal. While it's about the truth, it's more about helping the people that are having the issues, not so much investigating, trying to solve a mystery or to bring it to fruition, because I don't think you'll ever bring the ghost mystery to a concrete solution where everybody would agree. That's why I enjoyed the Bigfoot mystery so much, and why I got involved, because it's something physical. It's something you can cast. It's something you can collect. It's something that you can see and smell. All your senses are in play there. Right. Paranormal, you may see something, you may hear something, but you're not going to actually physically touch something necessarily. And I mean physically touch. Yes, there's people that act like they've been touched, but again, you're relying on a lot of subjectivity and rather than objectivity.
Yeah, and sometimes I think these guys are scaring themselves, and the mind can play funny tricks on you.
Yep, and Lori agrees with me 100%. It's just TV. Yep.
Yeah, TV entertainment purposes. Yep.
Right. The problem is just like we saw in the Bigfoot television, we see that in the paranormal television too.
Yeah.
Is that they see them using all this garbage, and now every group and everywhere else is using this garbage, and they're thinking it's evidence. Just like for a long time, people thought, "Oh, let's do some Bigfoot research," and they grab a tree, they grab a tree knocker, and they start, whoop, tree, right? You know.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I have this microphone so padded that you're not hearing that, and I'm right.
Yeah.
Whereas the old days of mics would be like,
well, yeah, a lot of the shows that are made for TV are edited for content for to make it be more entertaining. And I think one of the early shows of Finding Bigfoot, they had a real problem with one of the edits that they had made because they had Matt Moneymaker and everybody knew they had a thermal image of a horse, but during the show they kind of portrayed that as maybe it's something else,
that almost caused them all the walk too.
Matt didn't like that. Yeah, I remember that. He didn't like that. It seemed a little dishonest, but then again, when you look at it, they were doing it for entertainment value.
Yes, you can, Troy. I just popped my email address in the chat. I had a point and I lost it when I typed my email address, but it comes to show that there are negatives and positives to everything. The positive side is Bigfoot really didn't become a 4-letter word anymore. It removed a lot of the stigma to the whole process. But on the converse side, it made Bigfoot research look a lot more simplistic than it really is, and it's not.
Jack Norton.
That's what I wanted to get to.
Got a good comment here. It says, I hate that people say that Native American stories are all fake because of things like magic and guns.
And don't say that word.
Oh, sorry. Well, a lot of these stories are word of mouth, and to tell a good story, they would add these things. Well, that's the thing. There's some people that try to portray that the Native American connection with Bigfoot is modern and recent, but that's wrong. It's not.
And yes, there was an air of magic and mysticism to it, because that's the way the Native Americans saw most things.
Right.
They gave spirit, animal, whatever you want to call it, to wolves, to eagles, to bears, to coyotes, to rabbits, to every animal in the forest was a spirit. So understanding, and that was their connection with the earth. So to understand Native Americans talking about a Sasquatch or a Bigfoot that way, is not a big deal, where they felt it may have been another tribe. But the problem is that there's a lot of people in modern days that take that so literally and want to say, oh, they're the forest people. No, they are not a people. People is, if you look by definition, people is a human. Person is a human being by definition.
Right? They would have to have their own culture,
Well, and I'm sure they have culture, but not in the way we define it. We have a very complex artistic culture, but a people they form nations. People form these elaborate cultures, art and music, right, and politics and farming and different types of things. And it's generally very universal, to tell you the truth. I mean, hang on one second, Chris, go right ahead. Say your comment. I got to turn the heat off of this place.
A lot of the people will report that these creatures have language too. Some reports, I'm not going to say that it's real common, but some reports will hear the chattering and the evidence of language. But I don't know about that. I was talking about the language. You know, some people report they hear the language, and you got stuff like the recordings of the Sierra sounds and things like that. I mean, I've never heard anything like that in this area, but you know, we're talking this is Kentucky, so maybe.
And the issue of language, I mean, that's a whole nother convoluted.
If I go out into the woods and if I have another encounter and Bigfoot says, "Hey, how you doing?" I'm out.
Right.
I'm going.
Or the Cape Pizza.
I'm not going back in the woods no more. Because if they have a language, then they can they can work up a plan against you.
Well, it kind of
you know, they're bound to have some way they can communicate with each other, right? Even if it's nonverbal.
But chimps do that. Chimps, gorillas, orangutans, they all have their own calls which indicate something.
Yes.
So is that a very primitive form of language? Well, I suppose so. But unless a Sasquatch is passing notes, it's not a language.
Drawing on pieces of paper with a crayon.
Right.
Or leaves a message that says, "I is Bigfoot."
Right. And the number one reason why they don't have language is because they can't craft complicated tools. You know, that is I mean, we got language before we got skills like that. Or no, I'm sorry, the other way around. We started foraging things and putting tools together before we had language.
Right.
That's the easier thing to do than a complex task like develop a language.
Yeah. But you know, that could go back to the fire connection. You know, I don't think they've made that connection with fire yet.
Right. Exactly.
And that does a big deal. That's a big thing about nutrition. You know, if you can cook your food, you're going to get more out of it. And some people say that raw, you get more nutrients out of the raw, but I don't think so. I think by cooking your food, it allows you to eat.
Now, Laurie says, just throwing a thought out there, Neanderthal. Problem is Neanderthal wasn't tall. Was not a tall.
Right.
They were about
stocky.
5.5 feet tall, short and stocky. Very bone density. We have their DNA. They're, think about a Bigfoot for a second. It looks like nothing that's out there. It looks like a combination of different things. Looks kind of like an ape, looks kind of like a human. It's got a foot that looks human-like because it has inline toes, and that's about where the similarities end there. Yeah. You know, and that's what people that fake stuff and that hoax stuff don't understand, is that the only commonality with the human foot that they have is inline toes. Yeah. You know, we don't have a mid-tarsal break. We don't have a very wide heel. We have an arch. They don't. Our foot is not flat. In fact, if we're flat-footed, we have trouble walking. Because we have people that have fallen arches where the arch fails. And that causes problems. Whereas a Sasquatch is flat-footed. Why? Because it has a mid-tarsus.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of
our feet are not designed to support 800 pounds. But you do have let's see, what was that show? I can't remember. Ollie and somebody, the other guy, they lived in Papua New Guinea with the Mek tribe, and I can't remember their name. But something Oliver and something else. Mark and Oliver. And the Mek tribe, those guys went barefoot their entire lives. Yep. And a lot of those guys were and gals were flat-footed.
Yeah.
But that's because they didn't know, they didn't have
but their bottoms of their feet get very calloused.
Yeah, they were tough.
Yep.
And I noticed on some of the episodes where you could see their track on the ground, their toes were not bunched up together. Their toes were kind of like spread apart. And that's something that's happened, I think, with a human naturally. If you don't have your foot cramped up inside of shoes, your toes will naturally spread apart like that.
Right.
But because we've wore shoes all our lives, if you look at your foot now, your toes are not apart; they're like crimped together. You know, and sometimes
Right.
shaped like the shoe. But what was the one Cliff Berkman thought that Sasquatch could be related to Paranthropus? Yeah.
I'm trying to find the chart, and for some reason, I have one glitch going on with the computer is that my thumbnails are not showing previews. So I have everything.
Probably just a setting you got to get to.
No, the setting is set. It's the
Okay.
memory. It's not kicking it out. No, that's not it. I'm only going now. Some of them are starting to show up. It's just taking a little longer. There we go. There we are. So let's go back to our chart here, and so this is for Lori's benefit here. This is our basically the branch of the great apes and Homo sapiens and Paranthropus and stuff. So as you can see, that chimpanzees and bonobos are direct descendants of Australopithecines, and we are part of the Homo genus. And of course, there's another group called Paranthropus. Now, Paranthropus supposedly all died out, ending with the Paranthropus boci and the Paranthropus robustus. The Australopithecines continue today with the chimpanzees and the bonobos, and I'm sure now the billy apes as well. And then we have the Ardipithecines, which is where I believe your like your orangs and sorry, Australopithecines are also gorillas, and orangs also come from the Australopithecines. Now the big question is a Sasquatch fall as part of the Australopithecines, because there are some that all of those have mid-tarsal breaks, but none of them have inline toes. And then you have Paranthropus, which I believe the robustus had neither mid-tarsal breaks, no inline toes. But then you look at the Homo genus, which has a lack of a lot of hair, except when you get down to like Homo naledi and Homo habilis. Now, the thing about Homo habilis and Homo naledi is they both had inline toes, and they had remnants of a mid-tarsal break.
Yeah.
So did it spring off of ours, or did it spring out before the Homo branch broke off? And it's my contention that the Sasquatch broke off before the Homo branch broke off. I don't necessarily believe it could be. It may be an Australopithecine. It may be a Paranthropus. And then again, it may be a whole new branch that we've not yet discovered.
Yeah.
So just food for thought.
Well, when they are finally proven to exist, that's going to be an exciting time.
DNA testing will tell it all. But Chris, guess what time it is?
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah. It goes by pretty quick. Yeah.
Yeah. We are already at the 1 hour mark. It flies when we do 1 hour, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So before we go though tonight, I just want to thank Patty Lindsay for gifting 10 memberships, and Walter for another 5. That's 15 new members tonight.
Wow.
Folks, if you like what you see on the membership side, stick in there. We're trying to get a membership video out. It's been between losing a computer and getting hacked, having a show the week before, having a show 2 weeks before. It's been a little bit slow in that department. Trust me, we got some great ideas for some membership videos, and we're going to be working on that real soon. Some behind the scenes stuff, all kinds of good stuff coming up. And we're going to also probably get back to doing an occasional long form video that we'll put up there during the week, maybe every other week. But, like I say, we love doing live podcasts where we can connect, answer questions, present some new stuff, present breaking news. I mean, we're on 3 days a week now. It's not a hard thing to do to get breaking news out to you quick. So
some of the points that are made in the chat and some of the questions that come from chat are just awesome. You guys are great.
Yeah. So Lori, welcome to the gaggle. learn as much as you can. We try to put out the best information. We learn from you guys a lot of times too. So a lot of times you guys bring up some great points that we hadn't considered. So, but Chris, do your thing as we get out of here.
Well, again, I want to thank everybody for joining us and hanging out with us on Friday night. We appreciate it. We appreciate each and every one of you. And, I feel we're lucky to have you because I know, and Steve knows, you guys are the best Bigfoot audience we could ever hope for. But if it's your first time, if you're new to the channel, smash that like button, bump the thumbs up, hit the subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything to do that. It's free, and it kind of helps us out. But we appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Yep. And, of course, guess what we're going to do in a couple of days, Chris?
What?
You had mentioned the Eric Beckford interview.
Yeah.
So we're going to do a play-by-play of the Eric Beckford episode we did.
Oh, yeah. That'll be
back
fun.
in 2006 when Eric was alive.
That was before I came to the channel. Yeah.
Yeah, it was almost 4 years before you came to the channel at that point.
Yeah.
And so we're going to do a play-by-play of the Eric Beckford show. And we're going to have a lot of fun with it. We'll stop it, start it, and we're going to have a blast. And you're all going to get some good laughs, and you're going to get some insight too. Because Eric did say some things that did eventually come true.
Yeah.
The one thing we didn't see was the parallel universe where Tom Biscardi was honest. That never came true. But but anyway, we want to wish everybody a happy Saturday for tomorrow. We will see you all Sunday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. Everybody have a great week. We will see you all in a couple of less than 48 hours. Everybody, peace out.
We thank you for being here with us on Squatch-D TV. If you haven't taken the time yet, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And oh yes, hit that notification bell too. We don't want you to miss anything. If you really like our content, you should consider becoming a member, and it's really inexpensive and a great way to support not only the show, but honest Bigfoot research. Everyone have a great week. Be safe and God bless. We will see you all here next time on Squatch-D TV. Keep on squatching.